My boy Todoroki cheering for his girl out there. Did you see that? Like, my dude, he was straight up like, Tetsu, I don't know, man. I know that you think your girl Kendo is doing, a lot of great things out there. She's thinking ahead. She's destroying everybody in Class A. But don't be looking down on my girl, Momo. She gonna be wrecking house. Like, he effectively said to Tetsu that thanks to Kendo going into a 1v1 with her and not bringing like a 1v4 is the reason why they're gonna lose. That's pretty funny. Basically, Todoroki's like, she needs a 1v4 to lose. My man, Todoroki, he's selling that ship. Like, he's being that hype man for Momo. I appreciate that. I really do. I ship them. I've always shipped them. And just saying that pleases me greatly. But okay. So, can we talk about how short this chapter was? Like, this chapter was only like 12 pages, maybe 13 pages. It was short. Now, I did already kind of mention this on Twitter, talking about how, the chapter was very short, and, I hope nothing is really going on with Horikoshi. And a couple of you guys on Twitter did tell me that apparently Horikoshi, in, like, his last offer comment, he did state that, apparently, like, he's lost an assistant, and, like, apparently he's sorry about all of the short pages or whatever, like, the short chapters. He did say he's sorry, but he didn't really dive into the actual really big important details of what's really happening. I mean, yes, the assistant's one thing, but also I'm kind of curious on what's really going on, because if you think about the recent stuff that's happened to Horikoshi, like, I'm not talking about the success with the anime to the movie, you also gotta imagine that he's been under a lot of pressure. Like, with all this success, a lot of pressure definitely will build on your shoulders, because he is definitely carrying, like, the new era of, Weekly Shonen manga on his shoulders. And on top of that, we already know that he had some form of health issues when the overhaul arc was going on. So, I'm kind of curious on what is going on, and I hope it's nothing too serious, because you already know he's, had to take a break one time earlier this year because he was sick. Mangakas in general, they have a really bad schedule. They're overworked a lot, and they don't really get a lot of time to rest, and so I just hope that Horikoshi isn't suffering because of that. Because I know many might say, like, but Oda's doing this every single week. The man has lasted so long. Yes, but Oda, he's not a normal person. He's honestly, I sometimes doubt if the man is even human. But the point is that Oda's schedule, from what he's even told us, is not normal at all. So I'm hoping whatever's going on in these recent chapters with the short pages and all that, I really hope it's nothing too serious, and if Horikoshi needs to take a break, I hope he does. This chapter of My Hero Academia, holy crap, there was some really good stuff revealed. Like, we got Mushroom Girl's quirk, got to really see how her quirk works. We got to see Manga's quirk and how it works, and oh my god, there's some really good stuff. Like, even though it was a short chapter, and, I know many might be upset with that fact, it was still good for the stuff it did deliver. So, first things first, let's talk about my boy Manga. So, he's a character I have been interested in for a while. I've talked about him since he once again popped up and when this arc began, is that his design was always interesting, and I always thought that he had the potential to be a great character, but also be very unique, and also could break the fourth wall, and potentially, like, let's say, just be very OP, because he's in a manga, and his name is Manga, he has a quirk that's probably associated with that, so he's probably going to be pretty freaking strong. And seeing how his quirk works in this chapter, it definitely works differently from what I expected, but it's still strong, like, extremely strong, and in a lot of ways, I could say his quirk is very similar to Momo's, and let me explain why. Momo, she has a quirk to where she can basically create anything. As long as if she knows how it's made and, what contains within the object she wants to make, she can make it. There is some limitations that Momo has, but overall, her quirk is pretty freaking strong, okay? And when I see the man's quirk, Manga's quirk, and seeing how he can actually just, yell out letters, it's written on his face, and he yells them out or whatever, and they form and they can create different effects, that is something that is very similar to Momo in its own way, but it's powerful, because it's implied, kind of, by Horikoshi himself while he was writing this chapter, that if manga was to learn other languages, like, it was stated, like, I wonder how, onomatopoeias would be in different languages. That's what was stated. And you're like, I wonder how that would be. Like, I mean, if he was to learn, let's say, some English or, different languages and onomatopoeias from those different languages, it would expand upon his quirk capabilities. So he has a really good future ahead of him. His quirk definitely has a lot of capabilities because, I mean, let's look at what we saw. He was able to create a giant wall of text. And it doesn't seem, like, too crazy from what we've seen. Like, when you compare it to something like Overhaul and how the man is able to, like, create and deconstruct things, I mean, obviously, it's nothing like that to that level, like, holy crap. But we gotta take a moment to really look at what that was. When he created this giant wall of text, it blocked Aoyama's, attack. When he shot his naval laser, it didn't even go through. Now, I know many probably don't have a lot of faith in Aoyama. They don't think he's really that strong. And yes, he's definitely not the strongest or a part of, like, the strongest group of, My Hero Academia for, Class A. But Aoyama, his quirk is pretty strong. Like, we have seen his quirk go straight through like a concrete block. We know that Aoyama, his quirk, does have a lot of penetration power. So it not being able to go through the giant wall of letters that manga slammed down in the middle of the industrial, like, area, that speaks a lot. That his words are very strong. We don't know necessarily what actually causes him to be so big, if he has to really yell them out at the top of his lungs to really get them that strong, or his words are completely unbreakable. I mean, it's not really stated at all. We don't really get a full description to his limits or weaknesses in this chapter, and that goes along with Mushroom Girl as well. We didn't really get, like, the full nitty-gritty. I mean, we got a slight weakness to her that we found out that she does have a time limit. Like, her mushrooms will disappear in 2 to 3 hours, but it's obvious that this match is not going to go on that long. So, that's honestly not really a good enough information to really use against her in this match against Class B and Class A. So, we don't really know much about Mushroom Girl either when it comes to her weaknesses. We know just how her quirk is, like, she uses mushrooms and stuff, but we don't know. And like I said, it's the same with the manga dude. We don't know exactly his full scope of abilities and what he's truly capable of. We don't know if he's able to just only spit one word out at once, like one gigantic word, if he can only do that once, every limited amount of time, like maybe every 30 seconds or something. We don't know if he could actually, do different languages. We really don't know. That's not explained at all. Looking at what he did, he does have a lot of utility. He was able to create a sound effect, onomatopoeia, that was pretty much humidity. And it actually had an effect come out of it. Now, at first glance, that doesn't seem like crazy, like anything crazy, like, creating a giant text wall or whatever, or, creating a word that literally just makes it human around it. That doesn't seem too crazy. You gotta remember, in certain situations, depending on, let's say, the enemy you face, that can be really beneficial. And like I said, him creating, like, a human environment in that area and allowing the mushrooms to grow a lot faster with the Mushroom Girl, that was insane. Now, obviously, with him being able to create something like that, that's probably not the only thing he can do with his words. Like, the standard stuff like BAM or, WHAP or whatever. He probably has a crazy things he could do with his quirk, like sound effects. Like, I wonder how menacing would be. Like, think about that, okay? I know that's a meme, and I know it's a JoJo meme and all that, menacing, but think about it. If he was to use an onomatopoeia, like use sound effects that had the word menacing, like JoJo, what would that do? Like, would that make everybody in a given area scared? Be intimidated? That's what I'm kind of curious about. I mean, Japan has a lot of sound effects. Like, manga has a crazy amount of sound effects in it. I mean, honestly, if you really never noticed, it does. Go and look back at classic Battle Shonen. I mean, even look at Dragon Ball. You'll just see a lot of crazy sound effects. My Hero Academia has a lot of sound effects. And seeing what he did, I feel like, depending on how his quirk works, he might be able to make some form of words that could be like a sticky substance, or something that could be like a trap. Like, I mean, you know how there's like a sploosh sound effect, like a splosh, sploosh, whatever, or just like a dripping sound effect? He can probably make water. He could probably make some form of tar type, thing, because, I mean, if he is all about sound effects, and let's say a sound effect was dripping, That means depending on how maybe if he has to scream really loud, he might be able to make like something like a water hose, or he might be able to create like a tar trap, or he might be able to create something that's sticky, whatever. But the point is Manga's quirk is really freaking strong. And I'm looking forward to seeing its limitations and what it really is capable of as the match continues. Now, let's get into Mushroom Girl. Mushroom Girl, love her. I already like her design. She reminds me a lot of a witch, and I've already discussed this. Like, she legit just reminds me of what you would see how a witch would look like. A cutesy witch. She has a mushroom outfit on, and I mean, it fits with her overall quirk of what she's been doing. And apparently, the way her quirk works is she's able to spread out the spores from her body to create fungus, to create, different mushrooms all around an environment. Apparently, the mushrooms do disappear in 2 to 3 hours, so that is a good thing. However, we do see that when she is creating these mushrooms, she knows what the individual mushrooms are, and she was creating different varieties of mushrooms. So it wasn't just like one type of mushroom, it wasn't a special mushroom that was just attached to her as a person. She was creating real-life mushrooms all over the place, and she knew what they were, which this makes me beg the question. Since she has so much knowledge about mushrooms and all that, it makes her quirk very dangerous, because that would mean that she could make poisonous mushrooms, fungus. See, I think everybody knows that when it comes to mushrooms, not all of them are the good kind. There's a lot of bad kind of mushrooms, and I feel like if she could create what she did in this chapter, she could potentially make a poisonous mushroom, which could cause like a toxic effect. And if that really is the case, there's definitely a lot of potential her quirk can have, but also lethal effects as well. Because even if the mushrooms disappear in, let's say, 2 to 3 hours, it doesn't change the fact if they appear and someone accidentally, inhales it, or, they accidentally eat it, well, obviously, it's going to cause a lot of issues. So I feel like her quirk could be deadly. It's definitely only probably the happy side of the quirk, and we haven't really seen every little effect that she could potentially do. We also do know, apparently, she does have a habit of spamming her fungus, the mushrooms all over the place, because Class B is very aware of how it works and how long it lasts, so it's obvious she does it all the time. Now, speaking of her mushrooms, I do like how we get to see Toru's silhouette was kind of popping out with the mushrooms, and I actually took a moment to realize how awful that would be. Because, you see, Invisible Girl, Toru, she's always nude, okay? That's what she always is. And so imagine having mushrooms growing out of you while you're nude. That's not that is not what I would probably want to see or have on my body if I just saw mushrooms growing out of me. It'd just be creepy. So I find it kind of hilarious how lively and animated someone like Toru really is, even though she is just, an invisible girl. I just like how Horikoshi's able to bring her alive and how she just seems so, lively when she's just running in a panel in, this chapter. But I want to get into the nitty-gritty on kind of how Kendo messed up and how Momo is going to excel in this match between those two. Kendo, she is obviously a good thinker. She's put a lot of time and effort into trying to outsmart Class A and win and come out on top. I'm not going to fault her at all. And she has a lot of experience as well compared to everyone else in Class B. But she made a very big error in this chapter. She got prideful. She got too competitive, which in turn blinded her from the real objective of what this match is really for. See, once again, we gotta look at this match as if it was a real situation with heroes versus villains. Both sides are supposed to view each other as villains. So obviously, if you're going up against a villain, you're not gonna have a rivalry with them and, trying to be buddy-buddy or whatever. You're gonna try to take them out, capture them, and bring them back to the police or whatever. That's what you're gonna do. And so, what Kendo did, she did something that was very immature. Charging in at Momo like she did by herself without backup is crazy. It's the equivalent of, let's say, Kirishima charging Overhaul in the last big arc. That's pretty much what it is. If Kirishima was to do that, well, you know what would happen. So, Kendo didn't really make a smart play. She should have brought backup. Now, obviously, from the situation, maybe they weren't in position to be able to do that, but even then, if that was the entire plan to separate Momo from everyone else and have Kendo have a 1v1 with her, that was not smart, because even though Kendo is very powerful, and she could definitely probably overpower Momo in close proximity, Momo's quirk is very flexible. She can do a lot of things with her quirk, and she's also someone that has been always put under a lot of pressure, which was even stated in this chapter. She has always had to overcome issues to where, like, her judgment is being questioned. She has to figure out things like that instantly when everything is riding on her shoulders. So this type of situation is normal for Momo. She is used to this. So Kendo just stepped into Momo's realm of expertise, which was not good on her part, so I feel like Kendo, she might lose. But I still think even if Kendo loses, Class B is still going to win in the end, because it just seems like they have more teamwork than what we see from Class A. But I think that's pretty much about it when it comes to this chapter of My Hero Academia. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.